Welcome back, everyone. So what I have here is a Compaq LTE 5280 laptop computer circa 1997. This laptop I've had since 2013. I've actually bought this one at Hamvention in Dayton, Ohio, summer of 2013, back when it was held at the Horror Arena. And I bought this at the flea market outside, and I've had it ever since. This laptop has been, I've repaired it in numerous ways over the years. I actually bought a parts machine to keep it alive, and from the looks of it, I might need to get another one. So this is a Pentium 120 with 82 megabytes of RAM. It's running Windows 95 Plus. Sorry, you can't really see the screen very well, but I'm just booting it up to just make sure everything's kind of good with it. I've solved a number of the common issues in the LTE, like, for example, the cosmetic problems with the port doors that keep flopping open because the spring-loaded latches always break. I figured out that by using silicone, pour a little bit of flowable silicone into that area where the spring used to be, that seems to have solved it. Now, I have a video on that repair somewhere else on YouTube. But I recently got in touch with a couple of folks over at the Compaq LTE Facebook group. I'd share the folks' name who helped me out with a couple of things, but I don't have his permission to do so. But this gentleman solved one of my problems. He told me where I could find a replacement clock battery. These use a small, it's a AAA -4 or something like that. It's a, or +4. Actually, it should be on the package here. The battery is not identified on the unit itself, but it is anyway. This is a NiCad, not a nickel metal hydride. This is a NiCad battery, and it fits underneath the machine and plugs into the logic board. That's what keeps the BIOS settings and the clock running. Being a rechargeable battery, these do tend to leak, and they tend to short out over time and cause all kinds of funky problems. So we're going to rebuild. We're not going to rebuild well, this is not a rebuild battery. This is a replacement battery. The only thing we have to do to this is add one of these. I don't know why he sent me 100 of these things, but I just need to attach one of these connectors to this battery, and that's all I got to do here. So that it'll plug in. Anyway, found this guy on eBay for like 20 bucks. But what we're going to do in this video is we're going to rebuild the mains battery, the power battery, this guy right here. I've got a cup. I have two shells, two battery shells, and both of them are remanufactured. These are, or they're replacements. These are not original Compaq shells. They are copies of the original. And I started the rebuild process back when I was still in the condo, and I kind of put the project aside because I had a lot of stuff I was dealing with in life and had to kind of put it aside. But I already took this battery apart, as you can see, and I've got all the guts. They're on that shelf over there. So in this video, we're going to go over rebuilding a battery pack. So couple of things that you might want to do. If you're trying to do this on a doesn't matter what you've got for a laptop. The hardest part is generally getting the battery shell apart without breaking it. Fortunately, the battery shells that I have just came right apart without any issues. So once you get the battery shell apart, now a couple of tips and tricks that might help you. You know, wear cut-resistant gloves, I would say, and use a sharp razor blade to kind of slowly cut at the plastic until you can get it to break open. I really don't know if that's even a good idea. You might end up cutting yourself. You could also, depending on what kind of battery pack you have, you could damage one of the cells and cause a much bigger problem. So let's talk about battery technology used in these old laptops back in the day. So this one right here uses nickel metal hydride. Nickel metal hydride batteries don't last very long. They're probably good for between 2 to 3 years, maybe. They go bad all the time. I mean, all right, so back in when that laptop was brand new, the batteries only were expected to last about 2 to 3 years. Honestly, beyond that, if it lasts longer than 2 to 3 years, you've done well. It wasn't until lithium-ion batteries came out that batteries began to last longer than that, sometimes significantly longer than that. And then, of course, modern-day lithium polymers, if they're made right. I have lithium polymer-equipped MacBooks that are still rolling on their original batteries after 6 years of use, and they still hold a decent charge. So that is a thing. So let's talk about where do I get a battery for my vintage laptop. As long as you have an original shell, you have something to start off with. You have a starting point. If you can figure out how to get that shell to crack open without really destroying it, then there's a chance in hell that you might be able to build yourself a new battery using brand new cells from a major supplier. Let's talk about this particular example. Now, this laptop uses nickel metal hydride cells. These are still in production as of 2021 and are available in a number of sizes. Now, how you figure out what kind of cells you need, well, you can look at the pack, which I have the pack over here. Well, here's one. This one actually doesn't say. It's been conveniently for the purposes of my video, it does not help me very much. But you have to look at what the overall milliamp hour rating is of the pack and then divide that by the number of cells. And then you have then figured out what the rating per cell is for milliamp hours. The next thing you need to do is figure out what size the cell is. Now, if you have a pair of verniers or digital calipers like these right here, you can then figure out what the overall size of the cell is. Its length and diameter. Those are the two key elements. So we've identified that it's a nickel metal hydride, and these cells are, I think it might state it on the pack here. It doesn't, no. It just tells you what the type is. Now, based on the dimensions of the battery and using a cross-reference chart, I was able to determine that these are LA batteries. So an LA battery is roughly, I'll just measure it for you, just to get this video rolling, because I got a couple things I want to get done. These measurements are going to be in millimeters, metric. So the length of the battery is about 67 millimeters, and the diameter is going to be about 17 millimeters. So based on those dimensions, I was able to identify the cell as an LA battery. That's L-A. And using that information, I was able to go over to DigiKey and buy brand new Panasonic cells. These are a brand new made by a major manufacturer, that being Panasonic. And the date on these cells, they were packed in August of 2020. So these are not, these have not been sitting in a warehouse for 20 years. You want to avoid that. If you're doing a lithium-ion battery, for example, that's where things are going to get very tricky for you, because lithium-ion batteries have been out of production for a couple of years. So anything that you buy for lithium-ion is going to be old stock, and you don't want old stock batteries. Now, what I'm doing now is I got my soldering iron preheated. Now, here's another thing. You want to make sure that if your batteries have tabs tack welded to them, you want to make sure that you buy batteries that have the tabs tack welded. We're going to unpack all of these. They come in a big bag like this. Now, buying from a company like DigiKey is better than buying from, say, eBay or Amazon. I would never buy batteries off of eBay because though you don't know where they're from. There's no oversight. There's nobody checking to make sure that you're being sent not only new stock, but a lot of the batteries that you find on eBay are going to be no name from China. Now, let me point this out. These Panasonics are from China. Totally from China. But they're Panasonic batteries. So they're made to Panasonic standards, possibly in a factory that Panasonic might actually own. So that matters. In my experience of buying replacement battery, either assembled packs or just cells off of eBay, has been fraught with peril. I've always had problems with them. I bought a brand new battery, it cost me like 20 bucks, for a 17-inch MacBook Pro, and that battery lasted 6 months. After the 6-month mark, the laptop would no longer turn on unless I removed the battery. It was internally shorted. Had I taken the battery apart myself and rebuilt it from new cells or new pack, I think those are lithium polymers in that thing, I would have had a much longer life from that battery pack. So, you know, these are all things that you're going to want to consider if you're going to rebuild a pack for a laptop. Now, the other thing I want to point out is, like I was saying with the nickel NiCad batteries. For example, I've got some PowerBook 100 series laptops that I would love to make them battery powered again. In order to do that, I would have to source out brand new or fairly new old stock NiCad cells that are the exact dimensions. I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. So, alright, we got these all unpacked. Let's take a look at the existing battery layout, and we're going to lay out our new cells to match. So, just to make this easier for the camera, we're going to mark off where the negative terminals are, just for visual sake. So this is a negative, this is a positive, and of course this should be, once again, negative, positive. And then it curls over to this section, okay? Negative, positive, negative, positive. Okay. Now, I see on my old pack here, yeah, this was originally flipped over like that. What's nice is these batteries have not begun to leak yet. This makes it a little easier. We're going to reuse all of these parts. They're all perfectly fine. I'm going to start getting these batteries laid out. So I've got a negative tab here. And I'm going to solder this positive tab to the negative tab of this battery, like so. Make sure that when I do that, I do it right. Let's see. It should be like this. The lighting is awful, I'm sorry. We're gonna bend it like this, bend it upward, and then we're going to bend the other one the same way. So when you put them together, you know what I mean? Well, since these batteries are actually they're probably somewhat charged, we don't want to start shorting things out, obviously. I'm going to get some solder, that might help. Now, one thing I didn't really mention or talk about was cost. How much is it costing me to rebuild this pack? Well, that's where things get I mean, depending on what your budget is for batteries, well, this is about $60 in cells. Okay, so we're going to just use solder. The nice thing about solder tabs is they will help to disperse the heat more evenly, so we're not concentrating. You don't ever want to solder directly to a battery. That is a no-no. Can it be done? Yes. Have I done it? Yes. Is it dangerous? Hell yes. So we're just soldering onto these tabs. They're meant to take the heat. The battery is never meant to take the heat. So just keep that in mind. Let me see if I can get these lined up correctly. Yeah, it's still pretty warm. This is a bit challenging because the battery wants to roll, and well, let's see if I can do this without making a disaster. Yeah, there we go. You want to get these leads touching, and then we'll apply the heat. There we go. And they'll be permanently married. Now, why are we doing this? We know this battery is not going to last worth a damn. Correct. This battery, after I build it, might last maybe 3 years. We're just doing it for the fun. We're wasting $60 to build the battery for fun. Pretty much. I mean, that's pretty much what we're doing, you know. But nobody gets into the vintage computer hobby because it's profitable. It's because it's, well, it can be profitable, but it's generally not profitable. All right, now I'm going to reuse. There's a couple of safety devices built into the original pack. This thing right here, this is, I believe, an overcurrent breaker. We kind of need that in the new pack, so we're going to go ahead and desolder. Well, I can't desolder it, but I can pull the tabs off the old battery for sure. They're just tack welded on. So if you can't solder onto a battery, well, how do they put these tabs on there? It's simple. They use a tack welder. It provides a very, very concentrated and very brief amount of heat, just enough to basically, if you will, tack that tab onto the battery without causing it to overheat. So let me just get this all set up. Alright, so there's going to be a couple of safety devices, as I mentioned. You've got your overcurrent breaker, and then you've got a thermistor, which is designed to cut power, or cut the flow of power in the event of an overheating situation. So yeah, you kind of need those things to keep things all safe and kosher. Alright, let me just put some solder on this tab here, and then we'll be able to solder the little overcurrent device. If I'm not mistaken, these things actually, if this device gets too hot from just being overheated, it will actually click, and it will reset automatically when the situation is rectified. So let's get this soldered on. Soldered in place. Now we just need it to connect to the other battery. The next one in line is going to be going to a negative terminal. I'm going to fold that terminal around, put some solder on there. Pre-tin the little device, and we're going to just do that. There are some suppliers like DigiKey and I believe even Mouser that will actually pre-assemble the pack for you. It costs a little extra, but it saves you a little bit of time and hassle. But if you tell them what you want you tell them what you want the battery pack to be, and they can actually, using their own cells, they can build you or pre-assemble a pack, which might make more sense for most people. I just wanted to build my own, but I am aware that that is an option, and I've decided not to go that route because I thought this would be more fun. It's a cold and miserable day, and why not have a little bit of fun. Get this lined up. Again, we're going to pre-tin everything with solder. I'm using leaded solder because it melts at a lower temperature. And when it comes to working with batteries, you don't want to use high temperature if you don't have to. Never a good thing. Okay. Let's try to get these lined up. I can, and then I'll zap it with some heat. Put something under this one. Can you do just that? There we are. There we are. And just like that, connection is made. Positive to negative. So there's that section of the pack. We're getting there. So now the next connection will be a positive end of this battery goes to the negative end of the adjacent battery. So that should be pretty straightforward. And we're going to pre-tin. Yeah, if you don't feel comfortable doing this, you have other options. For example, Batteries Plus will generally be able to source these batteries from one of their suppliers, and they will build the pack for you. I've actually had one offer to do that for me. They told me that they could do the same thing. They would just charge me, you know, whatever their rate is for custom battery build. And it might vary by store because I believe they're independently owned, and they each do different. They have different services that they offer. So, but once again, I went this route because I want to be involved. I want to be part of the process. I don't want somebody else doing it for me. Okay. It does not look like a good connection, but I'm going to go with it anyway. All right. Now, so we're working our way down to cell number. That's the third row in, and that's where we're going to have to look into a. We're going to have to desolder this thermistor. Actually, it says SE fuse, so maybe it's a fuse. Maybe that's the thermistor. I don't know. I'm not positive, but I know what they're for, and I know they really do need to be there. We don't want to start taking out safety features. All right. Let me tell you a story of Chinese batteries, and you'll love this. So, I needed to replace. So my car has a remote, like most cars have these days. But in my case, the remote is used to start the vehicle, as well as enter and exit, or lock and unlock the vehicle. And as such, it depends on a little CR2032 battery in order to to do its thing, send out the necessary signals and all that hoopla. Well, here's what happened. So the car was about 3 years old, and I noticed that the remote wasn't working from a very far distance anymore. I'm like, well, that sucks. I'll just put in a new battery. No big deal. It just so happens that I just ordered a whole stack, like a whole sheet of CR2032 batteries, for some other stuff I was doing. So I just grabbed one of those batteries. They were from China. We bought them on Amazon. Need I say more? Amazon Chinese batteries. CR2032. How bad could they be, right? So I go ahead and I pop one of those in my remote, and it worked. It worked great. I'm like, sweet. That was 4 weeks ago. And that's all it took. After 3 or 4 weeks of use, about a month, the battery was dead again. Couldn't believe it. The battery was already dead. Totally dead. And its death rate was actually quite rapid because I couldn't even start my car anymore. Like, it would start in the morning, and then all of a sudden, the car won't start. I get a message that says, place battery them, you know, right next to the place remote next to ignition switch, which means that it's going to use. I believe it has a fail-safe where it will switch to like one of those. What do they call those? Those little badge readers, like you get into a building. Those badges don't have batteries in them. They just use like near field something or other. Anyway. Yeah, so Chinese batteries, no good. Don't buy them. Don't buy them. Not, especially for something like your car's remote. Just save your money, or spend a little extra money and buy something real. You'll thank me later. All right. So this is all coming together nicely. All right, I'm going to just continue on with my build, and then we'll see how it comes out in the end. Okay, so I've actually used hot glue, to fix the battery together like this. Let's see how that works out. Real important though, you want to make sure that you put the insulator behind this board where it belongs, because if you don't, you're going to have a bit of a problem. Possibly a short circuit. Okay, so I actually had to learn an important lesson here. The battery pack would not correctly fit in the shell, and it turns out that the if I had done a cleaner job in attaching the tabs to each other, I might not have had this issue. When the batteries are manufactured in a facility, and they're bound together, they don't use solder to solder the tabs together. They actually tack weld them, and the solder actually takes up just a tiny amount of space, but it's enough space to cause the battery to gain about a millimeter here or a millimeter there, or maybe not that much, but you get what I'm saying. And the cells aren't close enough together, so this was a very challenging build for me, because I'd never done this before on this type of a battery pack, so it was a little different than what I'm used to. By that, I may have built 2 battery packs in my life, and this is probably the 3rd one. So anyway, not a lot of room for forgiveness. So getting it crammed into the pack, I had to kind of fudge here, fudge there. See, what I ended up doing was I took the tabs and I desoldered them all, and then I relocated them so that the connection takes place not between the batteries, but above or below the battery. And then I folded the tabs over. It's janky as all get up, but we're going to find out how well it works or doesn't work in just a few moments. I think what I might do is I'm happy with the way it came out in the end, but the next one I build, I'm going to be a little more careful, I think. And I had to use electrical tape for the end insulator because the cardboard insulator wouldn't fit. And yes, the cells are identical to what I took out. They're the same exact cells, same dimensions. It's just that I just ham-fisted the assembly, really. Okay, so at this point, the battery pack is reassembled. I do not like how it went together. There's just a lot of things that I learned in the process. I've never rebuilt a battery pack like this one before. I think I did one many years ago. It was an older device, older than this one, in fact, and it went pretty smoothly. But this was totally out of the park. Again, I am getting a 12-volt reading on certain terminals, like I should. But I just don't. These battery packs were never meant to be split apart, reassembled, and glued together again. But let's just pop it in. Let's see if it even fits. Well, it fits. Okay. Do we get any power out of it? We do. So it actually is powering the machine now. Okay, that's something. So, any boozles, that worked. The battery is actually holding a charge. And of course we have a dead clock battery still, so F1 to continue. So, was it a failure? No. It is clearly powering the computer now. But will it take a charge, full charge no less, remains to be seen. So we're taking a charge now. It is at 6%. We're going to see what happens if I leave it plugged in for a couple hours. But it is taking a charge and it is giving power. So the correct battery indicator is illuminated or is lit up. So that's a good thing. I don't believe there's a battery calibration utility on this. But if there was, I'd run it. That would be a good step in the right direction. So we're going to let it charge and just see what the hell happens. We'll see if that charge indicator is going up anymore. Let's see. Oh, meter. It's at 6%. So let's just see. Now if I pull the battery out, it goes to, it should go to 0 volts. Hold on, let me pull the 0%. Alright, so the battery's out of the machine now. If I plug it back in again, it goes back to a charging state. So that's something. Alright, so let's just see what happens, and we'll come back to it in about an hour or two. Alright, so that was fun. Up next, we're going to take a look at our clock battery situation. So I've got the correct battery and I have the correct connectors. What I don't know is the polarity of that connector. So I'm going to have to look at how that all goes together. But this is the battery that we need, and again it ships with the wrong connector. So we want to get this all put together again, and we need to attach the correct one of these leads to it. So like I said, I don't know what the polarity is, so let's try to figure out what that is. Alrighty then. Okay, so here's where we're at. I figured out the polarity here. It's really messed up. Now what we can do is I can take this connector and reposition some of these leads. So we're going to pull the yellow lead out. We don't need the yellow lead. This, by the way, was sent to me. I'm going to just say who it was because he look, we're all friends in this hobby, aren't we? Well, this gentleman, complete stranger, mailed this to me without asking for a dime in restitution. He is Chris Lenderman from the Compaq LTE and Armada Owners Club on Facebook, and I cannot thank him enough. If you're watching this, thank you. You are a lifesaver. But this gentleman, complete stranger, don't know him from Adam, never had a conversation with him. Found out that from one of my live videos that I needed a new battery and a connector for this Compaq. He not only showed me where to find this battery, but he also sent me an entire pack of these connectors. I don't need this many connectors, but hey, 100 is better than 1, right? Alright, so the polarity on the battery is as follows. And I figured this out by watching another YouTuber discussing the topic. And he actually showed a brief image of the battery out of the machine. And it looks to me like the positive terminal is on this side and the negative is on this side. So we're going to just, obviously this connector does not follow any of those conventions. So I'm going to pop out I'm going to have to use a smaller pick or something. But we're going to pop the connectors out of the wires out of the connector so that, you know, so that it works. I had to find myself a teeny itsy bitsy teeny weeny yellow polka dot screwdriver. I think I found what I'm looking for. Just kidding. Ah, there it is. That's the one I want. These can be a little tricky at times. So I'm going to just pop these little pins out one at a time, making sure that I don't lose my orientation here. There we go. I'm not suggesting that you all go to Chris Lenderman and ask for free connectors. That's not what I'm doing. Please don't do that to him. Appreciate that. But he was very kind in doing this, and I do appreciate that. But sometimes I gotta pry up on the locking tab a little bit. I've done this before, but this connector is really small. Put my teeth into it and see if I can't get it out of there. Yeah, this is being really stubborn. But that's alright, if I break one, I got 100 more. Oh, there we go. Got it. So we're going to use that red one, and we're going to use the black one. The yellow one we don't need anymore. That's not necessary. In fact, I might even be able to just use the wire on the battery, right? So if we just go ahead and rip off the connector from the battery, I might be able to just use the so really all we need is the connector shell. We don't need anything else. But this one's being a tough mother. Come on. Get out of there. Okay, so there's one, and let's get the other one out of here. Meanwhile, I've got this battery charging. It's not getting hot. Usually when charging these old nickel metal hydrides, they would get a little warm, so I kind of question whether or not it's even getting a charge. Now, are these the same type of connector? Yes, they are. So we should be able to fit these right into here. And again, red was on the left, black was on the right. Okay. And I should be able to let me just press these little locking tabs down a little bit. And pop that guy right in there. Pop this guy right in here. Look at that. All done. No soldering, no chopping needed. Now, let's get this plugged in. Okay. Our battery is now plugged in. I'm going to just make sure that that connector's properly seated in there. I got a note from Mr. Lenderman saying that these batteries will be shipped from the seller. He didn't sell me the battery. He just sent me a place where I could find them on eBay, and that's where I found the battery. So that was an eBay find. Normally I wouldn't buy batteries from eBay, but this is an unusual battery, almost impossible to find anywhere at any price. So I'm just going to take what I get, and we'll hope for the best. But he said that it would take about an hour for that battery to charge with the device plugged in. So why don't we turn it on, see if we still get a dead CMOS battery error. Let me re-angle the camera here. We probably will. Okay, so there we go. Did not give me a dead CMOS battery error. Now what that means, oh, and the battery icon has moved up a cube. But check this out. There is a problem with my display assembly. It seems to be sporadic, but it doesn't affect the operation of the machine. If I recall, I had this problem earlier on, and I did fix it once. I know what it is. I know I can fix it, so I'm not really worried. But I just might start looking for another 5280 just to have for parts. I've got a 5400 with a good screen, but that screen won't work on the 5280's logic board. So that's a problem. But I'm not worried about it. Now, how's our battery charge? 25%. So it looks like we've actually bumped up to 25% on the battery charge, which is impressive. It's actually taking a charge. Okay. And our clock battery should be fine too. Now that battery, I believe, is also used for suspend functions as well. So the system will suspend, not hibernate, off of that battery. Anyway. Yeah, I suspect that I'm going to have to be pulling this display apart at some time soon and just get that addressed. What I believe it is a poor connector, a poor contact somewhere in the display housing. I've dealt with this before on I'm pretty sure it was this machine. It might have been a Toshiba, to come to think of it. But yeah, I'm not too concerned. I'll just leave it at that. And if I was, like I said, I'd go shopping for another parts machine. So the battery looks pretty good in its home. If this battery turned out to be a dud, I will just do it again. I have another battery shell. These batteries aren't impossible to find in dead condition, so it's not really that big a deal. I'm not, again, I have other things in life that I could worry myself sick over. This is not one of them. Don't worry, I have nothing to worry myself over. But if I wanted to, I could. But it's holding its own. So I glued it shut with Loctite gel. It's a super glue gel, and this is going to have to do her. Let's put it this way: if I were to be a complete nitpicking fool, there is no better solution. It doesn't matter how much of a nitpick I am. This is the solution. So we're going to put the battery back in and see if it comes. Oh shit! Oh, there it goes. It sees it, but it hasn't acknowledged. It's being stubborn. It's not charging it. So let's pop it out. Pop it back in. See what happens. Yeah, it's not acknowledging it. Put power meter. Yeah, it's not a good thing. Let's unplug the power. Yeah. Let's plug it back in. Yeah, it's unfortunate. It looked quite promising. And now this. Let's see what's going on. Oh, okay, there it goes. Power back on. Maybe it just doesn't. No, this is a hot swappable battery, so I don't know what that's all about. But do I have F10 set up on this thing? Let's see. I do. Let's see. Why don't we go ahead and set the date and time? 2099. So I can do 2021. And it is the 1st of April. Time is, this is in military time, so it's going to be 6:58, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. It's 18:59. We call it 59. There we go. Date and time is set. So let's go ahead and boot display. Auto. Yeah, that's fine. Save and exit. So our date and time is set. We've got a new clock battery and a new main battery, and everything seems to be working fine at the moment. Let's see how this goes. Now, my plan is to bring this machine... Oh, I must have... Yeah, I didn't shut it down right. I want to bring this machine to a coffee shop or something and just see if anybody gawks at me. I think that'd be fun. Like, see how many weird looks I get, like, with my 1997 laptop, like, just sipping a latte, you know, at the Starbucks or something. Unfortunately, being at pandemic times, probably not going to happen today, but... Once things start opening up, I'll bring it to like Panera Bread or something, and you know, I'll pay $20 for a sandwich and sip my $15 latte at Panera Bread with my 23-year-old laptop. Just because I'm that weird. Maybe throw some MP3 files, blast them through the speakers, and see if they kick me out. Sir, you can't have that here. One thing's for certain, you can never board a plane with this laptop. And do I need to say why? The biggest problem with this, if I were to board a plane, the FAA is going to tell me to get the hell out of there, because I've got this homemade battery pack. See, that is going to like tip off every red flag that they have. Like everything about this battery pack screams, you know, potential suspect device. I don't want scan disk to run. Thank you very much. Okay. 7:01 p.m. So time is holding steady, and we've got the correct date and time. So that's good. That's good. All's good. How's our battery look? Open battery meter. 30%. So let's just keep it going. I'm going to let it sit for like an hour or so. Let me put it to sleep. And we're going to just let it charge. So that's that. We'll see you in a bit. Okay, just a quick little update. So the battery is charging, and I'm running the battery calibration utility just for fun, see what happens. So I got it charging to, I think it's at 56%, and I've had to continuously remove and reinsert the battery throughout the process. I checked this out with a couple of folks on the Facebook group, and it seems to be par for the course. I recall these machines always seem to have battery issues, even when they were newer. I could be wrong. So a little backstory. I did own one of these, not a 5280. As a matter of fact, I think it was a 5250. I thought it was a 5150, but that wouldn't work because it definitely had a TFT display, not the dual scan display. Sorry, these display, all the Compaq LTEs I've ever had access to have had fairly dim displays. These were not the brightest. Now it's telling me the battery is fully charged. I know that's not true. Please remove AC power now. Alright. I can hear the fan running, by the way. Can you hear it? Kind of a groaner. These have noisy fans. Well, they sound funky. Alright, so we're going to disconnect the battery, or the power source, and let it calibrate. So as I was saying, the 5250 that I had was given to me by one of my best friends in high school. It belonged to his dad. Now his dad worked for a company. I don't want to say too much, because if you Google his name, you're going to find a lot of stuff. I really don't want to let that out. He was a very prolific writer in the technology sector. Let's just say that. He wrote for a fairly well-known specialized technology publication. And his employer provided him with a brand new 5250 back in, would have been late 96, early 97. And I remember when he got the machine, my friend was all excited. And this was at a time when nobody had laptops. If you had a laptop, that meant you were somebody. You know, you didn't just go out and buy a laptop. It was a decision that you had to really justify. And if you had an employee, or if your employer provided you with one, it's because you were, you know, you were up there. you were one of the chosen ones, because laptops were expensive. An LTE 5250 would have cost, if I'm not mistaken, between $4,000 to $5,000, depending on configuration. Now that's a lot of money. That's in 1997 dollars. You got to figure with inflation that would be, yeah, you're talking some real cash. So my friend's dad had one of these issued to him by his employer. Now that laptop saw some use and abuse. It had traveled the world many times over. It had been in international flights many times, and it looked every bit the part. And because it was used by the editor-in-chief, the keyboard was worn blank. It had all kinds of problems. By the time 2002 rolled around, or 2001, when I got it, it was hammered. Now my friend used it after his company wrote it off, essentially, by about 2000 or so. My friend's dad's company just said, you know what, you can just have the thing. By that point, the laptop was in really bad shape, and he received a new, I think it was an HP, it would have been an HP, maybe an Evo series laptop. I forget what their commercial line of laptops were called back then. But so he got a new laptop. The Compaq LTE 5250 was given to my friend. That was his son, and he used it, you know, to download South Park screensavers, and you know, it was a different time. But he used the laptop for about 2 years. And by that point, the speakers weren't working anymore unless you held the screen halfway closed. The mouse button didn't work anymore. The left-click mouse button no longer functioned. You know, the little port doors wouldn't stay closed anymore. The thing was really haggard, and it had a very, very well-used life, let's put it that way. The battery would no longer take a charge at all. I mean, this laptop was, it was hammered. So, now my friend said, you know, I don't want this laptop anymore. You can have it. And I said, really? Now, this was the first laptop that I had ever actually seen the internet on. And I really liked it. I mean, back when it was new, I just thought it was a great machine. It had everything you could ever want in a laptop. A hot swap bay it had 2 battery bays, or you could use the other bay for an optical drive or a floppy drive or whatever. I just thought it was damn cool. It was a great laptop. It had excellent built-in speakers. Now, for PC laptops of its time, the 5000 series in general had some of the best sounding speakers money could buy for a laptop. They were well placed up on the top of the display housing, and you know, I just love the industrial design of the machine. It's just a very good looking laptop for really any time period, in my humble opinion. So I ended up with the 5280. I repaired everything that was wrong with it. I fixed the speakers by replacing a section of wire in the display housing. I fixed the left-click button on the keyboard here. I fixed this by cannibalizing one of my extra PS2 mice. No, seriously. I took the switch assembly apart and replaced the little tiny metal dome. Got it working perfectly fine. I replaced the hard drive. I think the hard drive was going bad in it, so I found another drive for it. I really did a lot of little things to fix it up. And the only thing I couldn't fix was the keyboard. I didn't have money for a new keyboard. It really needed one. It was hard to type on because the keys wouldn't depress correctly. It was so worn to shit. It was incredible. So, and then I decided I want to put Office 97 on it. You know, in 2002, 2001, Office 97 was still pretty usable. And another friend of mine said he would do it for me. I didn't have the CD-ROM module for it. and my friend had a 2.5-inch IDE drive adapter. So what he was going to do is pop it in his desktop, take the drive out of the laptop, put it in his desktop, and throw the installation files on it for me, and that was going to be, you know, just a favor. And he had no problem doing it. Well, unfortunately, that was a mistake for me to just let him do that, because he took the drive out of the laptop, put the install files on the drive, and put it back in the laptop, all without shutting the machine off. So he basically toasted the IDE controller, and that was that. That was it. I was not able to repair the machine no matter what I tried. So I called my friend. I said, look, I'm not mad. I'm upset, but it's not a big deal. The machine was free. I had my fun with it. And he was very, very, he felt really bad about the whole thing. And because I had plans of actually replacing the keyboard. The laptop still had monetary value to it, you know. It had no real sentimental value to me, but it was worth something monetarily. And I said, look, I'm not, if you want to, if you really do feel bad and you insist and everything, you know, find me a machine. I said, find me a PowerBook 140. And he did. He gave me my first PowerBook 140. Or he found one on eBay, had his mom buy it, paid for it, and he said, come on, get it. I'm like, okay. So at least I got something out of that. I didn't really want to. I felt, but you know what? I was a poor kid, and he was one of the rich kids, so I figured whatever is right in the world. To this day, my friend is, well, actually, yeah, both of my friends, the one who gave me the laptop and the one who killed it, they've become very successful in their individual careers, and everything worked out in the end. But that poor Compaq unfortunately passed away. It didn't have to, but it did. So I bought this 5280 at the flea market at Hamvention 2013 at the Hara Arena. And if you Google Hara Arena in Ohio, or Dayton, Ohio, it's a very interesting story what happened to the place in the years to follow that particular summer. Unfortunately, the place fell into disrepair. The owners went flat broke. The place then got hit by a tornado, and it's really sad. And if you watch some of the footage, there's some folks who went urban exploring at the Hara Arena, and it's really sad to see what happened to it. I think by now, I'm pretty sure the building has been demolished, but I was there for one of its last and final Hamventions, and I feel like I'm privileged to have been there and seen all that work out. But that's where this guy came from, and I think at this point I am probably going to pull the display housing apart and take a look at why it keeps tripping out on me. I know it's fixable, and if it's not, I'll just get another 5280, and I should be able to fix it no problem. I'll find the right parts I need and take care of it. I suspect a possible cold solder joint somewhere. The cable seems fine. Oh, wait a minute. I just moved it and it tripped out. So maybe it could be as simple as a bad cable. So I'm running the battery calibration utility to see if that helps with getting the battery percentage and time estimation to be somewhat accurate. So it's been running for about half an hour now, and we're just going to see where it lands, I guess. The battery calibration utility is still readily available from at least 2 different websites I've found. If you just Google Compaq LTE 5000 series drivers, you'll pretty much find what I'm talking about. URLs can change, but search terms will always find you where you want to be. I put the floppy drive module back in so I could run the battery. So here's the thing with these soft packs. That's what they're called, soft packs. What it is a file self-extraction utility. So you download the SP whatever file you need, and you need a host machine to extract those to a floppy disk so you can run them. And what you want to do, I actually am using my 486 PC for that. So I downloaded all the soft pack disks, stuffed them on a CD-ROM, transported them to the Tandy 425, and that is how I'm getting them to floppies. So now another thing is you can't run the self-extraction utility off the CD. You've got to copy them to the hard drive. I could probably have done this on my Windows 10 machine, but it just didn't seem like it would work. I just did the hell with it. Did it on the Tandy. So howdy ho. So now it's running again, half an up. We just dropped a cube, and we'll see where she lands. If I get an hour and a half once I run this battery charge discharge cycle a few times, I will consider that a roaring success. 1 hour to 1.5 hours is about on par with what these machines were good for when they were brand new out of the box. Remember, laptops did not last. Now, a lot of laptop manufacturers would tout 3 hours of battery life. No. I don't think it ever happened. Very few laptops back then could get 3 hours. I think 2 hours was max, and that was if you were using all sorts of power management utilities or settings. You know, shutting the hard drive off in between access, and running the display at a reduced brightness. This was not a MacBook Air. So 1 hour is probably on par if I can get it. So we'll see what happens. We just passed an hour and 16 minutes. That's pretty good, I'd say. But then again, we're not using a lot of CPU power here. We're just running the fan, the display at full bore, and we've got the hard drive spinning. It's not doing any power savings of any kind. Question is, when it does finally give out, is it writing this data to an EEPROM chip somewhere? I mean, where is this information going? I don't know, but we'll find out. Oh yes, we'll find out. So I just cracked open my other battery pack. This is this is actually the one that I believe came in the LTE 5400 that I have in my parts bin. Now this is a lithium-ion pack. These use completely different cells and different charging circuitry. This pack does not take a charge, obviously. In fact, this one, if you put it in the machine, it will prevent it from turning on entirely. But it has 4 cells rather than 8. I'm sorry, 8 cells rather than, I think the other one had 10. These are a different size cell. They're lithium ion, so totally different chemistry. You would not want to intermingle the two. Because lithium ion requires much different. I believe the voltage is different on the charging side of it. I don't know. It's just not the same. They're not intercompatible. This battery is a refurb, or not a refurb, but an aftermarket. But lithium-ion battery packs were available, and of course this is living proof of that. So I'm going to hang on to this one. I might rebuild this one too, just for the fun of it. But we have crossed the 1.5 hour mark about 3 minutes ago. So we're still rolling. I do believe that by running the calibration, we'll be able to have a handle on what the battery status might be. We'll see how that goes. Oh, shit. You know what that means? 2 hours. 2 hours, 49 minutes. Low battery alarm came on at 2 hours 21 minutes, and it kept beeping, so I shut the sound off until 2 hours and 49. It just went boom off. So here's what I've come to conclude. The battery is working correctly. Everything is working as it should. The battery was actually full, and that's why it kept tripping out. It would not continuously charge the battery as it didn't need to be charged. So it would tell the circuitry, hey, no more power. I'm done. I'm full. I am out of here. So by running the BatCal util, I was able to run it into the ground, and hopefully that will reset the battery charge level indicators and make everything all kosher hunky-dory. That's my plan. That's what I hope. And we'll find out tomorrow how successful that was. I'm going to pop the floppy disk drive out, and we're going to put the CD-ROM in there. I like the way it looks with a CD-ROM drive. It just looks classier. You know, look at that. Beautiful. Alright, so let's let her charge overnight. Hopefully it doesn't burst into flames, and then we'll... You know, I should probably put this near a fire extinguisher by my bed or something, just in case it does burst into flames. I can put it out. I'm just kidding, it won't burst into flames. But anyway, that is how it's going to go. This frigging guy. As soon as I come home from work, love me, love me. Alright, this is going to be it. So let's talk about where we're at now. So last night, before I went to bed, I ran the battery calibration utility. And I found that these numbers are crazy, by the way. After 2 hours and 21 minutes, it finally gave me a low battery icon. Or, I'm sorry, indicator. And at 2 hours and 47 minutes, it finally shut off. This sucker almost made a 3-hour runtime. Now, granted, it was running in a controlled DOS environment. It wasn't running Windows. It was in DOS. And the battery calibration utility is designed to bring the battery to its knees. It's designed to run it into the ground. And that's exactly what happened. And what it does is it saves the information of how much it actually ran versus what is indicated on the battery status panel to try to calibrate or balance those out. So that seems to have been a roaring success. If you rebuilt your battery pack in your Compaq and you have not, or one symptom that I had was the battery would charge for maybe 10 minutes and then it would stop charging while the indicator was showing a 40% charge. Now, under normal circumstances, that means that the battery pack is defective or there's a problem in the charging circuitry. That was not the case here. All I had to do was calibrate it. The battery calibration utility is available. I would, again, do a Google search. You'll find it. Get it, run it, do it. Even if you have an old battery pack that still holds a charge, run the utility. Because if you don't do that, and you keep trying to charge that battery by pulling it out, plugging it back in again, all you're doing is hurting the pack. You're actually running the risk of overcharging the cells, and what seems to be happening in this case is it actually fails on overcurrent, or possible thermal. So this morning I woke up and I came down here to see where my charge level was. It turns out it had been fully charged, 100% showing on the indicator, on both indicators. Now you got to be careful with this indicator on the LTE 5000 series because this LCD panel is notorious for losing icons. Let's see how this one looks. This one's got a couple icons out, and the reason for that is because of the way the panel was manufactured. It has a flex cable that is adhered to the back like a $5 wristwatch, and those contacts always fail. This panel has been replaced 3 times. Let's see how many icons are out. Alright, so I got one battery icon out and I got 2 power management icons that aren't showing up. It's a pretty good day. For a Compaq LTE 5000 series, that's actually good. That's as good as it gets. So, that all having been said, I unplug the power supply and I let the machine just sit in the standby mode for 9 hours. And I'm still showing an 81% charge level on this machine, which is impressive. So the battery build was a success. That is the point I'm trying to make. It is absolutely as good as it's going to get. Now, I want to caution you once again, when buying cells, it is critical that you get them from a top-tier supplier. Yes, you can buy battery cells on eBay. Yes, they're cheap. No, you shouldn't, because those cells have likely been sitting around forever. And you don't necessarily know when they were manufactured or what lot they came from. It's just not worth the risk. If you want to do this once and get a nice full 2, 3, 4, 5 year life out of the battery pack, then you really need to be buying them from a legitimate source. I bought mine from DigiKey. I believe Mauser also carries them, and I talked about which ones they are. I'm going to show you once again. These were purchased. I bought 10 of these batteries. This is the information. There's a part number. And the production date on these was listed on the individual bags, which turned out to be August of 2020. So the batteries were manufactured in August of 2020 and then split up and sold within the following year. So hey bud, bye bud. So the too long didn't read. Yeah, do that. Now now it's down to 75%. So now we're really pulling some power out of this pack because we're running the machine, full bore. I expect at the end of the day that this laptop might last approximately 2 hours. I'm gonna say it'll go 2 hours on a full charge. I haven't tested this theory yet. I might do that after maybe my second or third charge. So. Another thing I want to point out, nickel metal hydride batteries are definitely some of the finickiest cells you're going to come across. They're not like lithium ions. They do need to be run into the ground. Otherwise, they do develop a memory effect. Not as bad as NiCad, but they do wear out pretty quick. And I think it's best to keep them... I'm not really sure if it's best to keep them fully charged or fully discharged. I can never get that straight. But yeah, if it were me, I would try to keep them topped up because they will degrade otherwise. All right, well that's it for now. Thank you for watching, and my next step is to bring this guy to like a Starbucks or something and just see if anybody notices what I'm running. That will be fun. All right. Until then, you guys have a great day. Happy Easter. Easter's coming up, so hey, have a good one of those.